normal?
It's normal.
Yes, it is.
It's
Okay.
getting ready to go broadcast.
Okay.
I'm getting
The,
ready to
the
dance.
intro is.
Hello and welcome to Welcome Home Radio. The waters in the mortgage industry can be pretty muddy, whether it's investing, leasing, renting, home insurance, or myths and misconceptions. Welcome Home Radio has the answers for you, the consumer. And now, to help you make the right home buying decision for you and your family, here are your hosts.
And welcome to Welcome Home Radio, where real estate lending and learning come together. This is your mortgage market update for November the 10th. First, I want to say happy birthday to all my Marine brothers. Grateful for every one of you, and also an early happy Veterans Day to all of our vets out there for tomorrow. I also want to thank my co-host, Alan Pace, for running things while I recover from surgery. You are a blessing, sir. I'm very grateful. Stocks and bonds start the day much lower after a CPI report. Now, this report focuses on inflation, and the year-over-year increase is up 5.4 to almost 6.2%, where we were at a 0.4 before. The expectations, it's way above, very negative on the market, so we're seeing rates affected in mortgage-backed securities. The MBA reported purchase applications jumped 3%. But we have to understand inventory is down 13% year over year. So prices are also up over 20% today. Now, while some builders are canceling contracts, most builders are dealing with the bottleneck of production and materials, and we only see builders' confidence up slightly, 5%. I think we'll see that trend going into 2022. And finally, the Fed has promised to taper their purchasing of bonds. That will impact rates in the near future. We'll talk a little bit with Tom about that. But they are on the rise, a quarter to 3/8 of a point already in the last 3 weeks. Now, with this craziness in today's real estate market, we want to discuss the status, the short-term future, maybe the long-term future. And, of course, joining Tom and Alan and I today is Debbie Stallings of the Debbie Stallings Home Team. Welcome, Debbie. So glad to have you on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, what a blessing you are, and appreciate the opportunity to share. Now, right out of the bat, I want to put you kind of on the spot a little bit, you and Alan, because this market is really confusing to a lot of people. I have several buyers that, they sold, but they see renting right now because they can't find a home that's really affordable for them because they think any profit is they're going to use it to buy the new home. Is this what's happening? Is renting going to be a normal move, or is this something out of the ordinary?
No, I think that if you have the right agent and your agent knows how to work for you, they'll find you the right house.
Awesome.
That's kind of the simplest answer to that question.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Alan has anything to add to that, but really, it's a tough market. Yes, there's a lot of multiple offers. Yes. But there's a lot of agents that know what they're doing and a lot of agents that don't know what they're doing. There's people out there that are not getting homes and not winning, and they keep losing offer, house after house after house. They're agents, I'm sorry, but they don't know how to do it.
Sure.
So if you got the right agent, the right broker, plug for Fathom, it'll work out.
Well, you got to figure out that there's always going to be the seller's in charge. It's your house. Okay. You're the seller. You move when you want to move. So if you sold too early and you don't have something else locked down, there's that. And we work for sellers. They're the boss. Okay. We take orders from them. Now we give them good advice, but every seller's different. Some want to sell and some do want to rent. They don't want the responsibility. I've helped people in Capel move out of a very beautiful home and rent a nice place. They just don't want to do the homeowner thing anymore. But then there's also the people that want to downsize. People the kids are gone now and they want a smaller home. So you're seeing a premium on 1-story homes. 1-story with a pool, absolute premiums, hard to find. But you're going to always have a different bunch of sellers out there. The main thing to remember is seller is the boss. So if they want to move, that means they're signing that contract. That ain't on us.
Well, I guess I want to understand, because I'm one of those sellers that should be moving historically. We should be downsizing, as you put it, but we don't see a benefit in selling right now, as well as because everything that we earn, it's going to take where we want to live to the point where we're not, it's not desirable.
I don't think that's entirely true. See,
okay.
Home values, I'll tell you, just to talk about my own house. Okay. My house, we've only lived here almost 3 years, I think. In 3 years, it's jumped about 200,000. I'm not kidding.
Oh, so, I understand that. I understand, but finding a home, let's say you sold. Okay, I've got 2 clients that are they sold. They wanted to catch it in this upswing. They wanted to catch that 200, because that 200,000's just paper until somebody actually pays you for the home.
True.
But now them wanting to buy where they want to live, they're going to use up all of that money just to find a place, and they're downsizing. I mean, I would downsize from my 3,500 square foot home to about 2,200, and where we want to live, we're going to spend about the same amount of money that I would sell my home for to purchase. Plus the HOA dues are way up there. So I guess I'm just one of those struggling with that. I don't know if y'all are seeing the sell
it's true.
solution or not.
If your home is worth more when you sell it, then of course you're going to pay more for a home you buy. So there is that. You got to consider, her home went up, Debbie's home went up $200,000. Well, if that's a $3 million house, whoopee, no big deal. If it's a $600,000 house, then she's done really well, right?
Oh yeah.
So there's a lot more demand in homes under $500,000, and you're probably in that category. Your home's, probably worth that or more. And a smaller home, the premiums are they're very high on a 1-story home right now. They really are. And if you have a 1-story, and if you have a 1-story with a pool, my God, you own the world. I mean, you can ask a lot, right, Debbie?
Yeah, I have a listing coming up actually in Dallas with a pool.
There you go. There you go.
But to echo on something you said a few minutes ago, Alan, you're entirely right. The best time, people always want to time the market. When is the best time to buy? When's the best time to sell? And I echo what he said. It's when it's right for you. People buy and sell for a variety of reasons. And if you try to base that decision on the market, I mean, you need to base it on you. Everyone has different reasons for buying and selling, and you got to do it when it makes sense to you.
Sure. And again, I understand. I'm just trying. I've got clients, people that are listening. Want to thank David Tanner. I appreciate, coming back here, being back. But I want to get to some really market analysis or market understanding with you, Debbie, because you're on this front street where people are, hey, do I sell? Do I buy? Can I buy now? Is it available? That sort of thing. And I'm sorry, I need to mute my phone. I'm already forgetting some things to do. But home prices are high. I had a client just ask me about a refi, and in less than 11 months, his value has reached $175,000 more than what he paid for it. Tremendous. But is it going to refi because the rate's going to be higher? He's taking cash out. Those are business decisions that they have to make as they get the options. One of the things that I'm encouraged by, or not encouraged, but trying to understand, foreclosures. Do you see, because of the governmental ability to defer payment for a while and foreclosures, we understand about only 78% of those people will come out of those foreclosure processes proceedings well. We're still going to have a possible market hit of 1.2 million, 1.3 million homes available in the market. Will that bring that home prices? What do y'all hear out there in the real estate world? Are you seeing that? Because those are going to start hitting this month, December, January, February, March. Is that something that you're aware of?
I'll let you take this one first, Alan.
Okay. I think that has to do with where do you live. I think Dallas-Fort Worth is a very high demand area. One of the best airports in the world, obviously. Without this airport, DFW, we would be, average. So we're way above average. Then you got the tax situation in the state of Texas, which is very good for business. You see California companies moving here, New York companies moving here, Pennsylvania companies, a lot of people moving here for their business, and then people have to work there. So I don't see us as going to have a big, we won't have too many houses to sell for quite a while. There will be foreclosures because of all the deferred payments that have gone on. And most people that sign those deferred payments have no idea what they're signing.
Sure.
They just know they don't have to pay rent or mortgage for 6 months or whatever. And so I think that is in play in other parts of the country more than it would be the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Well, I want to hit a hot topic for everybody. And then, Tom, we're going to come back. Glad you made it back in. We're going to talk a little bit about the inflation numbers. But I want to hit right off the bat on something I think you're both prepared on. But give me an identity of what Zillow is doing, what changes they're making, how is this impacting the real estate, the realtors out there, all of this sort of thing, because I think that was a pretty big announcement that Zillow is backing out of some of their market stance. Is that correct? Help our listeners understand.
Debbie has thoughts on this.
Well, here, I give you the board, ma'am.
Go.
So I think that agents around the country or possibly the world last week, we rejoiced with that announcement, right, Alan? It was like the best news ever. To clarify, though, Zillow itself is not folding. They just folded a couple of their programs, like you said. But I'm so glad that Zillow finally realized that us as agents, we're not replaceable. I know that one of my least favorite words to hear from a client, and I know you probably feel the same way too, Alan, is, but Zillow said, my Zestimate is, you guys, guess what? Last week, Zillow said that they're wrong. So I don't want to hear anymore, but Zillow said, my Zestimate is, you can't replace an actual real estate agent with artificial intelligence. I'm sorry, but you can't. It's kind of like replacing a waiter with a robot waiter, right? The idea is intriguing. Oh, I can sit at my table and a robot's going to bring me my food. And it's neat and it's exciting. And I kind of want to check it out myself because there's a couple of restaurants around that do that. But, it's a similar concept of trying to replace us with Zillow's algorithm. You just can't do that. I think there's a lot of buyers and sellers out there who crave a human relationship, and that's what Zillow cannot replace. When you work with an actual agent and don't rely on something like Zillow and those iBuyer programs, you get a relationship out of it. And that's one reason why I love my job. I don't just have clients, you guys, I have relationships. When you get involved in a transaction with someone, whether it be a buyer or a seller, you're in it for the long haul. When I am knee deep in a transaction with a client, I talk to them more than my own husband sometimes. And he doesn't like that, but I do. I have a client this summer. I helped her buy a house, and you know what, you guys? She named her chicken after me. She loved me so much, she named her chicken out of me. That's Tracy. If you're watching, hi Tracy. Can Zillow say that they got a chicken named after them? No. So it's just about the relationships. You can't get that with Zillow. You get that with using a real. And you know what? You want to know something ironic about Zillow? Is they advertise that you don't need an agent. It's an algorithm. It's the Zestim, all this. But guess who they outsource their work to? Agents. right? Who's doing that work? When someone calls in, someone's searching on Zillow and they want to talk to an agent, they think they're talking to a Zillow employee. Guess who they're really talking to? They're talking to us. That's people who buy Zillow leads, okay? They're talking to an actual agent. And see, Zillow recognizes that. They know that. So the public thinks they're not using an agent at all. They think they're using a Zillow employee, but they're not. It's just, I'm just so over it with Zillow making the public think we are replaceable, because we are not. There is a reason for us. Our jobs are very, very worthy. And that's my soapbox. I could go on and on and on, but I want to give Alan a chance to talk to me.
I all your points are good ones. That said, Zillow is not buying and selling homes anymore. True. But Zillow has established Kleenex. You know, when you talk about homes now, Zillow, their marketing is amazing. You look at a AP story or a story on NBC or whatever, they'll say, according to Zillow, so they're not really going anywhere. And Debbie's clients and mine too are going to be on Zillow every day, looking at homes,
Right.
even though we set them up with, our own software that we have available to us, which is more accurate and more up to date. But, God bless the person buying the home or selling the home. I'm the same way. I do my own research before I talk to any professional, just to kind of, find out what's going on. And Zillow is going to still serve a purpose. They're going to still be around. We still go through Zillow to set up our appointments through their company showing time. As far as I know, that hasn't changed. And so, they're a big deal still. They always will be, I think. But Debbie's right. They just told everybody we screwed up. And Debbie will tell you this too. Realtors asked for this. They paid Zillow for 10 years to get in this business. They pay for leads. I don't do that with Zillow. I don't like that. I do my leads like she said. I do relationships with people, and that's how I generate my business. So the Zillow thing, though, my client, I saw it on
It looks like we lost him.
Zillow. Good.
Alan
Let's get
for
from
a
there.
second.
I'm all right with that.
Well, we lost you there for a second, brother, but I appreciate the insight that you guys give. Tom, can you give us any final insight to the economics of what Zillow made that decision for and how that might impact the near future of the real estate market?
Well, it was more a result of a legal aspect than anything else. They didn't like the fact that they were running into multiple lawsuits about the artificial intelligence aspect being and fitting the National Association of Realtors requirements as far as knowledge in the marketplace. And again, a human being knows and can feel and can touch and knows the neighborhoods they sell in. And their challenge was that they didn't have that ability in their AI to make it so that, they were actually representing a market knowledge when they were giving their information out. And so that's really kind of the underlying grounds. I think all my realtors, I just got trained in the Legal 1 and Legal 2 for next year to teach that at Champions. And so the Legal 1 and Legal 2, Alan, come to my class. It'll be interesting, I think. When you take it, we went into the background of what some of the motivations were and what that does with regards to the fact agents have a requirement, an ethical requirement in their relationship with their client to know the area they're selling. And this just proved that as much data as you can put into a computer, they still, Zillow still didn't know what the neighborhoods were like and what would be considered a geographic area, because they would just send you this big old blob of houses. Well, no, I'm looking specifically for this, neighborhood. And it was it didn't work well for them. It didn't end well.
And they don't know if a school's going up here or what's happening here. And I understand. We do have new listeners today. I want to make them aware. Please put your comments in the comments. If you have questions for Debbie, for Alan, or Tom, or even myself, please put that there. We'd love to hear from you. We'll talk to them. And I want to kind of shift gears if we can real quick, because it's going to impact all of us. I want to go back to the report on inflation, the CPI. Tom, can you give us insight on what is taking place and what do you see as potential impacts for early first quarter 2022 with this inflation number that's gone beyond crazy, in my opinion, because 4%, 2% is the target. We're at 4%, and now we're estimated between 5.8 and 6.2. I mean, help me understand that impact to what we could see happening in the next quarter.
Well, I think housing pricing is already a reflection of it, even though that's strangely not what they really look at, and they don't look at oil prices. Keep in mind the other thing on this other side of the coin. There's some things in CPI that haven't been inclusive since the 1970s, when it was 13-14% and everybody was freaked out. If you really added in gas pricing right now, it would be closer to 8 or 10% as far as the overall inflation rate. And so the Fed's shot all their bullets as far as that goes, and they don't have much ability to really kind of work with this at this point, because they never got back into the game of charging companies higher rates. And it's interesting. Everything came together in a perfect storm, one way or another. The supply chain's been broken for a year and a half. Just think about toilet paper, Alan. Something for you to think about.
Hello, Alan froze again.
But
well, then I want to take this with this understanding of the market. I mean, again, for every client that Debbie deals with, we're dealing with the largest purchase that they'll probably ever deal with in their life. That's why they need to trust someone like Debbie, that building that relationship, why that's so important for them to have the knowledge they have. But it becomes even more important if you're making that buying decision or deciding to continue to rent, which I see a lot of information coming across that renting has become a viable option in many areas of the country. Don't know about here. I haven't looked at it right here specifically. Maybe Debbie or Alan can give us some insight, but help us understand that a little bit more, because you're scaring most of us with, hey, it could be even higher inflation than what they're reporting.
Right. Well, and, I hate the fact that the Fed has for so long played this down when it was apparent and obvious 18 months ago, 20 months ago, that this was going to happen. So economists are there to support the position that they want to make people feel safe with the realities of what they want to happen versus what is actually the dynamics of what's creating our problems. We're still short on. I loved your insight earlier about the fact that should we have a lot of additional housing come on the market? Well, fortunately or unfortunately, the deferment part, although it's higher than it was in 2008, 9, and 10, it's 25% higher. We're in a higher default rate than we were pre-2008, 9, and 10.
Wow.
We're a higher default rate than ever before. And yet the fact is that because those homes have inflated so much in pricing, you may see people to the point where, well, I better go ahead and sell it because this amount that's being deferred onto my loan can create negative amortization. And essentially, if you don't make your payments for 12 or 18 months, you've agreed to put a sizable amount against your house that's still accumulating interest, because the investor said, well, we'll do this, but we can't do this free. We've got to do this with receiving
the
some
fine print, right?
The fine print, exactly.
Well, then I want to take this understanding with what you just said. I want to go back to Debbie. Debbie, you get a gist of, and I get a very good sense that you are a very personal person, and I'm sure you teach that and train that. So give us a feeling of who Debbie is and the Debbie Stallings home team, and how people can talk with you, or why you're doing, and you say you love it. Why do you get to do what you do? So please share with us that information.
So yeah, I'm a team leader. And just to explain to those watching who don't really understand what a real estate team is, because I had someone the other day ask me if I started my own brokerage. No, I still am under Fathom. So when you are a real estate agent, you either work as a solo agent or you're on a team. And I was, like Alan, he does solo. And I was a solo agent for many years as well before I started my own team this past year. But I started when you're on a team, the reason I started my team is because I really enjoy, I'm very sociable, like you said. I enjoy teaching. Before I got into real estate, I was actually a college professor for a little bit. So I really enjoy sharing my knowledge. I'm someone that when I know something, I don't like to hang on to it. I want to share it with the world. That's just me. I love sharing what I know. And so I wanted to, I'm one of Fathom's mentors. I train new agents, and I wanted to kind of take that a little bit further. And so I decided to start my team. And so on the team, presently I have 6 agents on my team, and I'm going to be possibly adding more after the first of the year. But so when you're on a team, there's support, there's leadership, there's sharing of ideas, there's teamwork. Together everyone achieves more. I love that motto. So like one thing I struggled with sometimes, being just a solo agent, was when you're really busy, sometimes there's some clients you just can't get to. And there's leads you might be getting and you just can't get to them all. So when you're on a team, you get help with that. And if there's one of my team members who has a client who wants to see a house, but they're busy doing whatever, well, you call up your teammate, but there's so many benefits to being on a team, and
Debbie, if I could, click on your comment section. You have private chat up there. Click on the comment section. I think you're going to find some of your teammates are already identifying and
I didn't see all this on here. Oh, wow.
So.
I didn't know these comments were on here.
So we definitely get that sense of your teaching ability and leadership, as well as
hi Dolly. I see Dolly on there. Dolly, can I get a shout out to Dolly? She's so wonderful. She's one of my clients, but she's also my friend. She started out as she's a good example of a relationship right there. So she started out as a client, started out actually not even as a client. I think I did a few CMAs for her for the neighborhood. I used to live in her neighborhood. But she has become a good friend of mine. And see, that relationship would not be there if she had gone to Zillow. Sure. I just have to say that. So hi, Dolly.
Okay, we knocked that off now. Well, we're excited. How can they get in touch with you or your team to
I'm glad you said that. Look, you guys.
Oh, here we go.
So one thing, I'm really big on social media. I have a Facebook page, at Debbie Stallings Realtor. I have an Instagram page. Here's my phone number. I didn't have that on a writer, so I just printed it out.
That's awesome. That's
also,
awesome.
Here's one more. Hashtag Debbie Stallings Realtor.
There you go. Now, who are all your agents, if you don't mind sharing those names as well?
I have Nikki Ferris is on my team. Nikki is the first one that I teamed up with. Nikki actually is part of one of probably the big driving force behind why I started the team, because she started out as a somewhat newish agent that I started helping her in the pandemic year, 2020, that big year. So she kind of got me really, really enjoying helping others. So I have Nikki on my team. Then I have Michael, of course, Michael Rodriguez, Marsha Monaco. I have Debbie Ford. I have Kristen Stout, and also Carrie Thresher. And I'm going to be adding a few more after the first of the year. But what I do a little bit differently than some other teams is I have agents strategically placed all around the Metroplex. There's some teams that they work in just one area because they specialize in that, and that's great. But I get leads from all over. So I like to have agents kind of all spread out. So if I get a client or a lead who needs a house in one area, but I'm not available in that area, well, I know I have a team member over there.
That's
But
awesome.
yeah, we're all over. We support each other. I teach what I can, and we learn from each other too. I recognize that I'm not the only one that can teach. You can learn a lot from other agents and your other teammates as well. Everybody has something to add.
Can you give me some insight to Fathom outside of what Alan, or I just would like to see another opinion of why Fathom as opposed to anyone else and why you love it there?
I love Fathom. Yeah, we got to give a plug for Fathom Realty. I will never go to any other brokerage, and you can write that down that I said that. I just
Well,
love.
by the way, I love Fathom because it's veteran owned. So I'm all supporting of a veteran. So
yeah, see, one thing I like, so Josh Harley is our CEO. And, if you were an agent who goes to, I've been at Keller Williams, Remax, those big places, their CEO, clueless on who I even was. Okay. And I'm still not even that well known. I'm like, some people know who I am, but Josh a couple of weeks ago invited me to lunch. And I have to say that made my day. Our CEO made the time out of his day for little me. Okay. And that's one reason right there why I love Fathom, because he is representative of our leadership. I think he calls it a lot servant leadership, and it's so true. We are Fathom in general, we're growing and growing, getting bigger and bigger, but we're a family. These huge brokerages, you don't get that family feeling. You don't. And I get that with Fathom. I love my broker. I can't say enough great things about them. There's so much support. There's training, a lot of tech. Like, I can tell you that I love the tech Fathom provides. Okay. There's just so many great things about Fathom. I can't say enough good things.
Hey, Blair, while we're here, obviously Debbie has a team, and on the team will be experienced people, not so experienced people. And I know a lot of experienced realtors that have no clue what a DD 214 lender is. So why don't you take a minute and explain that and what you do with the veterans and VA loans and things, and because I'm sure some of the folks that are on the side here on the comment section would love to hear that.
Well, what an honor. First off, I have the hat, but a DD 214 is actually what you receive when you are discharged from the military. Any one of the armed forces, Coast Guard, Space Force included, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and Army. And a DD 214 just means that that person's military career is all right there. And that's one of the things we use to do a VA loan. Myself being a veteran, a disabled vet, I love doing, and 63% of my business is VA focus. So I really try to focus on my brothers and sisters in arms. We have unique solutions here at Highlands that allow that, all the way up to construction loans that I can do VA. But the personal touch, as Debbie said, about being able to identify with a client, being able to understand how to set up their income, being able to communicate how a VA loan is able to be done, and understanding the guidelines. Hey, I can dismiss your spouse's income, which most people don't understand that they can get rid of that if you're able to show income for that, and only have the pure veteran by themselves buying the home. I've done several of those, but the bottom line is I'm here to help veterans across Texas. We have over 100,000 a year moving to Texas, and it continues to grow, not shrink. We are the second largest state of veterans and the number one state for female veterans. And so, again, understanding that community, understanding those services and opportunities here. We have a lot of veterans coming from the Northeast and the West Coast that need help, desire help, and want to come here to buy. So DD 214 alumni lender just allows me to identify myself, as well as understand that, hey, I know what those people are going through. Now, doesn't mean I just do those. I have FHA, conventional, USDA, down payment assistance, doctor loans, as well as bank statement loans. But the bottom line is I try to focus in my community of service. My community heart is really with the veterans. So I appreciate that, Alan. Thank you. In our last few minutes here, want to get back to with home prices. You've got a client wanting to sell, wanting to buy. What insight can we give to people that are on here that we can help them? Like you said, okay, it's decisional. It's up to you. You're in control. But hey, this is a great time to sell. It may not be such a great time to buy, depending on where you're looking at. But give us some insight to the questions that our listeners need to be asking or aware of themselves, so they make a decision in that way. So who can you help, or how can we help those listing potentials for you, potential sellers? What do they need to be asking themselves in this market today?
Well, I tell you, I've got a client right now under contract, and we had a nice little sit down at their home. They have a small home, and they got married, so they're both living in the small home. It's got issues, but they could afford more. So I just sat down, and the words came out. Do something. You've got a nice home here in a good price range. They could keep it and still buy. That would be a nice rental property. Needed some work. So I think a lot of it is that, you ask people, engage. I think Deb talked on it earlier a little bit. You have to engage. You have to have the conversation, get it started. So many people that I've known over the years, and gosh, happened 3 times this week already. I should have bought 2 years ago. My God, look at all the money I'd have made. And so that conversation comes up all the time. And so I go, listen, you learn from the past. Just don't repeat mistakes. So you can't time a market. It's hard to do that, and most people can't do that. But if you're going to buy a home and you're going to live in that home, you're going to appreciate eventually. I bought this home just before the market crashed in 2000, whatever it was. Okay, and I'm a realtor. But, after all these years, we're doing great. It's gone through the roof. So that's what it's about. You make nothing renting. The landlords do, the investors do. You don't. You just keep paying a little bit higher fee every year to live there. So get out, engage, have the conversation with myself, or call one of Debbie's team members, have that conversation. And we've got some great advice, and we won't lay a bunch of stats on you. We'll talk to you like real people and help you do what's best for you and your family.
Debbie, anything to add to that you'd like to bring up?
So you were asking before about those who are thinking more about renting, because it seems like the smarter decision. And Alan touched on something I want to kind of expand on a little bit. You don't make money renting. So yes, there may be a lot of multiple offers. You may be missing out, losing out, whatever. But if you decide to rent instead, you're paying your landlord's mortgage, not yours. You're not building equity. You're throwing away that money. $2,000 a month rent is math. Is that 24,000? I'm not a lender. I can't do math in my head. That's money you're throwing away. Whereas you could have put that towards your own mortgage. So that's one decision. One reason right there why not to rent. So like we both, myself and Alan said, you can't time the market. When it makes sense to buy and sell is when it is the right, when it's the right time for you. And if you keep second guessing yourself, like if you list your house and sell it for $600,000 right now, and you keep watching the market and you say, well, should I have waited? You can't do that. If you keep second guessing yourself, you're not doing yourself any favors. You just got to do what's right for you at the time that, it's your own timing. Like they used to say that spring and summer was the best time to buy and sell, right, Alan? That's not the case anymore, I don't think. The right time is when it's in your time, your own timeline,
Sure.
November's been a wonderful month. This has been a great November.
Yes. Fathom has had so many wonderful closings. So many agents have been selling like crazy. Yeah.
So I imagine you're busy too with the loans and stuff. So
I wish I could be busier. I'm too busy recovering right now. But I want to take a shift here real quick. Great understanding, great answer. I love it. But Tom, help our listening audience, help our realtors out there, help them understand that, hey, yeah, 2.75 is not going to be available here in the next 3, 4, 5 months in estimates and analysis. That, my first home, I bought at 13%, and I was good. It was, you said buy the home now, and I'm doing it. Help us understand and walk through the changes in rate should not be a deciding factor in this decision of sell or buy, and help us understand what that's going to mean in the near future so that clients can get on the, what is this new term, calm portion, the calming, hey, be calm. Is that what it is? I think,
it sounds like a horror movie.
Well, it's like that doctor going, be calm. We got it. We're about to.
Tom, I want to hear your answer.
When Abe Lincoln is upside down, we'll know.
We know everything's going badly.
The old 2.75 calm question. Let's go.
Yeah, there is a 1-800 calm called Tom Calm.
It works too, people. I call it every week.
Debbie's going, make them leave.
I'm just listening.
Debbie and Alan, though, both, as far as that school, it's to buy when it is time for you, when it's the right time for you. I can't emphasize that enough. Blair made the, I guess I'm a little bit older than Blair in the fact that, my interest rates on my first house were 15%. So,
I caught it at a great time.
Yeah, you caught it at a low ebb. You're a smart guy there. But the reality is that, rates will go up and down. It's whether or not you can afford the payment. Try not to force yourself into a situation where, you've got HOAs that are climbing dramatically, and you see that really eating your lunch sometimes more so than the insurance. But know that insurance and taxes will go up. Your value's going up, so your appraisal will accordingly drag your taxes up. But insurance is the thing probably to be more worried about today than just about anything else, because these big companies, I mean, Liberty, all those companies are out there. And see, I know. Okay.
The doctor is a note.
But the reality is that our insurance, just on my rental houses, I've seen across the board 10 to 20% increases this year. So that is something that we have to have an awareness of. In addition to HOA, in addition to taxes, you can get a fixed rate at 3%. That's great. But you don't want to get right at the top of what you can afford unless you're in a position where you're going to be making a lot more money you can dedicate to that payment. So these are, again, things that come into the forethoughts that I tell people that if it's right for you now, make sure it's going to be right for you into the future as well, because you're going to be living with those payments, not just today, but tomorrow.
Yep.
Being house poor is the biggest concern, I think, when people try to max out their ability to purchase, and they don't understand the maintenance, the cost of water to electrical to gas to so many things. And you're right, but I guess I get so many questions about rate, and their decisions are made yes or no just based on that one item. And that is, Tom, in your mind, is that about, I put it about 14%, number 14 in priority in a mortgage?
Without a doubt, maybe closer to 11, but still right in there as far as that goes. I mean, we've been blessed with the fact we've been below 10% since the 1990s. It was as late as the 1990s that we had 10% rates. So, and we lived through more than a decade of 10+% rates. Keep that in mind too. So rate really is kind of a bad argument for buying a house as far as that goes. It's payment, payability. The longer you wait at this juncture, though, you're pretty much guaranteed the higher rates you'll pay over the next year. Rates always follow inflation. And I think inflation's here to stay. I don't know how it's going to go away until we get ships and cargo in, and the huge amount of stuff you're seeing sitting out there in ports, and that's all the stuff we buy out there on those big old huge ships. And if you've ever been down to a port and you stood next to one, you go, how can we buy this much crap? But
Amazon proved it. Somebody's buying something.
Yeah.
Like a weight bench.
Yeah, I'll go to Craigslist later and see that listed, my friend.
When COVID hit a year ago in May or in March, you couldn't find one of these. They were non-existent. They were just gone. You couldn't Amazon it. You couldn't nothing. And the ones you could get were way expensive. So it's a different time right now. You've got 30-year-old millennials that are in debt still, even though millennials are driving the market. I read something where 37%. That's a big deal now. And, but I know so many people in their mid-30s to, mid-20s to mid-30s that are in debt, just coming out of school. It's different than when we were doing it. So then you have all this other stuff going on. It's a different time, but I feel blessed that we're in Dallas-Fort Worth because I love this market. I know Debbie loves this market. And this is going to continue to be a very strong market, in my opinion. And
I agree.
I think our inventory is going to remain a little tight.
Well, guys, I think we've had a wonderful discussion. Debbie, I'm going to give you the last word before we say our goodbyes here. What would you like to further share about whether it's real estate, your team, or just a shout out to somebody? It is yours. Please take it away.
Oh gosh, you're putting me on the spot now.
What's for lunch?
Probably have lunch with my husband.
Oh, there you go.
Hello to my husband. Can I say hi to him? He's my biggest fan, my biggest supporter.
There you go.
No, I mean, I'm kind of stuck on the high the high interest rates. I'm kind of stuck on that. I can't believe how high rates were. Like we were watching Ghostbusters the other night, and there's a scene where they're talking about a mortgage, and it's like 19%. Wow, I know. So it's just crazy to think how far we've come. The real estate market, it is booming. It really is. I don't see any signs of us slowing down. We still have low inventory. We do. That's why it's November, and we are still selling houses like crazy because they come on the market and everyone flocks to them. So yeah, it's.
You just opened up another question that I need to ask Tom because it's the same thing I hear about interest rates. I do a credit class, a credit education course for people to come out. Since I did bankruptcy, I learned how to work with my credit score and what I needed to do. But I would find it very interesting if people know how much interest rate they're paying on their credit cards when they roll over and don't pay it all off at once. Because if you're shocked about 19%, credit cards average, Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, but 17 to 24% on the average.
Dude.
And people have no problem charging and then letting it roll over and paying that extra. And they dig themselves a hole. And for that $4,000, they actually pay about $6,500. And they never understand that. But yet we can beat up and talk about interest rates now on a mortgage just because we're open and honest. We want to tell you, we're by law, we have to tell you. I don't think people look at their credit cards, do they, Tom, to see where the interest rates are or read the fine print?
It's kind of surprising with the automated deal. It used to be you get a payment coupon sent to your house, and then they went to the point where that disclosure had all the data in there with regards to if you make the minimum payment, it'll take you 26 and a half years. Or if you make this additional payment, you can pay it off in 5 years. They were required by law to make that amendment. Nowadays, people set up their computers to say, I'll make the minimum payment or I'll make the minimum payment plus 5%. They don't ever go back in and revisit how much balance am I running here so that they actually physically know the dollars that they owe. And that's what the challenge is with the automation piece, that the law improved the way credit card companies at least had to tell you, but we've made it so easy to just say, well, I'm fine with the minimum. That's the shocker when you end up, well, why is it still taking me so long to pay off that couch at Ashley's that I bought for $2,000? Now it's cost me $4,000.
Yep.
It's the same thing with student loans. I have to just say that real quick. And I'm guilty of that myself. I learned the hard way what you're saying. It's the same thing with student. I owe more now on my student loans than they actually were 20 years ago.
Wow.
It's crazy. People don't understand. They're not educated, in the very young ages about it. And
Yeah.
Well, Debbie, I just want to thank you so much for taking time today. I have really enjoyed getting to visit with you, hearing more about. I look forward to possibly meeting your team. I am going to meet one of your team members here shortly, but so grateful for you taking time. There you go. Put it up there. Thank you again. I'm Blair Thomas.
I'm Tom Holm.
And I'm Alan Pace.
God bless, and happy birthday, Marines, and happy Veterans Day to all those veterans out there.
thank you.